daylight studio, was burned down, and I just had green at the back, green screen. So all the seafaring scenes you'll see were actually shot in my conservatory, and all the backgrounds were pirated from feature films. I mustn't mention that to anyone. Can you say, I swear I will never mention that to anyone altogether?
I swear I will never mention that.
I didn't see that person say it. Will you kindly leave the auditorium? It's okay for you. Yeah. Now, I went to a nautical college where the strap was the order of the day. And I've still got the marks to show. Anyone want to see? Yeah. Oh. That's my wife. You've seen it, honey. Anyway, and we were instructed by very strong old sailors from the days of sail. They still link it on. And they, apart from knots and splices, they also taught us sea shanties. And I remembered some of the verses of one of the sea shanties, and I thought they should be preserved for posterity. So me, my wife, and my editor, and a neighbour got together and sang. So you'll have to excuse our vocal qualities, but at least with energy and commitment. So I won't
and toys round his neck, and not his ass for a stopper.
The stewardess was a bluesy. She had obscene jacuzzi. She got really smoky and monkey which proved she wasn't choosy.
The steward's name was Moses. He never touched his noses, 'cause he looked like a lass. We'd be spraying on his ass and apologize for roses. The person's name was Carter. He was a dirty barker. When the wind didn't blow and the ship wouldn't go, Carter the farmer was Carter. We're putting in the wrongness, the apprentice like to fly, so we're ruining the boat. Would we down his deep throat? While he massaged the wrongness.
The captain had an order forever in the water. You could hear his wheels and hamburgers around the section quarter.
It's time to go ashore. I'm looking for a hole. Gonna give up on pottery. Don't want enough to leave his brother. Like his left me bloody sore. That's all there is, folks. So goodbye to you. We hope that you've enjoyed our little shanty review. Hey! See you around the home, shipmates.
The accents were Hampshire accents, so you may not have understood it perfectly. Sorry about that. Anyway, that shows what you can do in your conservatory with a bit of stolen footage and a few fancy costumes. The next extract you're going to see is taking green screen several jumps ahead of that little exercise. A little while ago, I had a letter saying would I care to make a short movie at Swansea University. They supplied this, that, the other, green screen and all the actors and assistants I needed. We had one professional photographer. So my wife and I have been thinking of a story on great British Queen Boudica in 61 AD, who fought the Romans, gave them a bloody nose. Well, we couldn't all up sticks and go to Anglesey, so we decided to do it all in the studio. So these little extracts you're going to see are all done in the studio, and also the same goes for the number of people involved. You'll see quite a number of Anglicans, more actually than we had, but we just simply multiplied them onto green screen. So that's why I want to show you. This is what you can do with green screen. Someone said to me just before this session, they were going to film a pit bull terrier in Cumbria, and they were going to take him up there. I said, keep the pit bull terrier here and bring Cumbria down to the pit bull. Just send someone up there, take several shots, and you can put him in afterwards. A lot of you may be familiar with what green screen can do. Most Harry Potter films and stuff, like That Hill, are absolutely crammed with them. But it's a learning process, and if you just watch these extracts, you will see what can be done. And I must emphasize it's work in progress. You'll see Boudica lashed, I believe, but the lashes aren't on now, but they will be. My wife objected. She plays Boudica, by the way, and she wrote the music and on so far with green screen, and to appreciate the technique, which I think is fabulous, I'd like to show you these extracts. The music was orchestrated by our editor, who is here today, Mike Bradzel. As I say, the words of music by Mike. So have a little look at this preview. So can you move into the lights back, please? They're based on fact. It's all true. What you see is true. So it will be otherwise. Okay, off we go.
Like a thief or stealing a cab, flogged like a slave or down into life. Lashed to my back is bloody and sore, thrashed 'cause the Romans would settle a score, scourged 'cause they wanted me to with contempt and rejection. Rise up, let's take the upper hand. Rise up, take back our land. To Colchester, the capital city, to loot and sack and destroy without pity. Then on to London, the tidal waters, where all shall be slain for love of my daughters. And lastly, there along the shall be put to the sword, destroyed by our conquering horde. I was left with no lead, now blood will flow through your city. I said, don't run, you better beware. If I were you, I wanna be there.
Okay, that's a few words back. I'd like to point out my wife who wrote the songs. Stand up, please. And Mike Bradshaw, the editor who edited the film and also orchestrated the lovely music. Where are you, Mike? Okay. So, as I say, not 1 foot of that did anyone go outside. It's all done in the studio of the green screen, what can be done. And it's being further jazzed up, more goodies added, including the brutal bloodstains on the back. Right, now, I'm going to end this brief. You want to say anything regarding that?
Do you want to say something?
No, yeah.
Yeah, I think it is an area which it's sort of open, it's a bit like another universe.
It is, yeah.
I feel like we're sort of on the edge,
Yeah,
just in the first stage of the rocket.
that's right. Yeah.
It's something that we
It's exciting, it's very exciting.
yeah, we plan to do a lot more of it
Yeah.
here.
That's
I think it's great that we
good.
can share it with you.
Yeah, okay. Now, 10 years ago, this is the last film, it's very short, 5 minutes. Melvin Bragg, Lord Bragg, the South Bank show, he was doing a program, and on various items on television that were in question as to their veracity for censorship. Some people thought they were a bit strong for the viewers, others didn't. I didn't see that particular thing, so I didn't comment. But afterwards he said, Ken, I suppose you're not in favour of censorship. You should see it over and done with. That no such thing. And I said, on the contrary, I said, I'm all in favour of censorship. I'm sure there are images that if I saw on the screen unarmed, that I didn't ask or didn't know about, they could freak me out and make me crazier than I am. And so he said, well, that surprises me. He said, I'm not in favour of censorship, but for instance, I bet you couldn't write a script that when I read it, I think, oh, that should be censored. It's kind of sort of going too far. And I thought about it a bit. I said, okay. And a couple of weeks later, I sent him a script. Short it was. And he read it and he got back to me and he said, Ken, if you made this film, you will be taken out and lynched. Well, it took me 10 years to convince anyone to finance it. The finance was only £10,000 anyway, but it took me 10 years. Finally, a website called Comedy Box heard of my movie and thought they'd like to take a risk on it, and that it might attract attention to the website. So I got the £10,000 and I made the film. Well, it's been shown on the website, Comedy Box website, but this is the first time an audience in a cinema sees it. So I don't know if Melvin Bragg was finally
that starts with Christmas in downtown Manhattan, 1941.
Hey, Mom, who's that little old man stealing stuff in the house? It's no rocket, precious. That's Santa Claus. He brings presents to all the good little boys at Christmas time. It's the season of goodwill. Am I a boy, Mommy? No, Lenny, you're Jewish. Does that mean I won't get a train set? Let's go get some bagels, Lenny.
Goodwill is in short supply today as the Nazi jackboot grinds Europe underfoot as Adolf Hitler continues his ruthless march of terror.
Hey, why do they like that bad, Mommy? Hitler is evil personified, my son. See it going, Mommy. Hey, what was Santa Claus bringing for Christmas, Mommy? Nothing. He's the last man in the world to ever get a present. No wonder he's a bad man. People dislike him so much. Hey, a nice present might change him. Can a lemon change his spots? He can try. That's my boy. Mommy, dearest, I'm taking a Christmas present to Uncle Adolf. And super loving little Lenny.
See how our brave little stowaway defies hell and high water as he sets sail for war-torn Europe. See how the valiant little lad survives 50 days in an open boat, clutching tight the present he prays will melt the Führer's hardened heart and bring about world peace. Across battle-scarred terrain, guided only by his unerring sense of direction, Lenny finally reaches his fiercely guarded destination. Meanwhile, Hitler fiddles while Europe burns.
Sie hören dafür! Was ist das? Eine Widerstand!
Brought to a prisoner, I know, all the way from Brooklyn, New York. Merry Christmas. Please stop letting me go, please, Your Majesty. Sir?
See the rare sight of Hitler weeping, his hardened heart touched by the glorious sacrifice from the son of the land of the free. summoned personally to an audience with the president, Rachel carries her late-lamented little boy up the steps to the White House.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. President.
And it's a great pleasure to shake the hand of the lady who must be the proudest mom in these United States today. And it is also my privilege, ma'am, to pin the highest award possible to the youngest American citizen ever to qualify for a Purple Heart. So nobly deserved.
Don't miss A Killing for Hitler, coming soon to a website near you.
They're still here.
I think now's a chance for you to make any comment or ask Ken any questions. If you're so moved.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Goodbye. That's the end.
No, sure. I know it sometimes takes a couple of minutes for ideas to come together. Yes, absolutely.
Well, Humphrey? Yeah,
The challenge
the challenge.
of censorship. I remember you once said to me, I think you said to me, that part of your mission was to shop. I seem to think that there were people of your generation, in a sense, had that as a theme or something that they felt was important. I mean, do you think that's
Well, I don't know if I actually said that, but what I meant is, I worked on the science program monitor. We just, the basic tenet was to shock people into an awareness on art. Because our audience was basically, not educated in artistic matters. So we, I suppose we sort of, quite often, not always, we shock them into a sense of, I don't know, a magic world, or into a new way of looking at things, a fresh way of observing what was going on, and what was taken as art. think if I had made it then, it would have been more shocking. I also think that the fact that I didn't use a little boy sort of softens it. Whereas, I mean, I did approach a few parents and they said no.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah. So I think it would be more shocking, but since it's sort of removed from reality, like that little person plays the part. You know, so it's already in a land of fantasy, which I think is in a way a good thing because it does remove it. Right? It's still a fact, and a fact that lots of Jews were cut open for their tattoos and ended up on lampshades in concentration camps and elsewhere. So, I mean, it's a fact that did happen, and to handle it and to, well, you can't justify it, but to sort of explain the hero, you know, that they're heroes, you know, the dead are heroes, and so just making him a hero even in death, I think, was one way of sort of slightly paying tribute to the unfortunates who underwent this horrendous torture.
Do you think there might be viewers you could view that film using anti-Semitic? Could you imagine? There might be sort of
No, not in many years.
young fascists who would see that.
And I think it draws very strongly on the kind of satirical, photographic satirical montage tradition that certainly reminds me of it, of that period. And it is that, you know, just the whole thing of that very bizarre gesture of Hitler's sort of semi-camp gesture with the hands and all that. I would have thought that
I mean, I think it's sort of this borderline between. I mean, I've got a friend in, actually he's Norwegian, who is just starting a project on gay groups who are fascinated by fascism, by Nazi. You know, they dress up in Nazi uniforms. And he's just starting to try to do a project. Why is it that these people are playing with these very powerful signifiers to do with fascism, which are very sort of stimulating in their transgressiveness.
Well, the royal family dress up as fascist, don't they? And there was something on television over there that one of the, you know, they dressed up as Romans around this area in Roman uniform. I used them in the Boudica film. And then there are groups, not gay groups, they're just fanatics for uniforms. You know, that there is a certain, well, everyone knows that the Nazi uniform is very glamorous. Of all the uniforms, surely in the last war, you know, that there has been a style. You know, the Gestapo in particular, you know, they're very dapper, very smart. So, but I think it's so sort of over the top, you know, just the way it's done with the little boy running in space. You know, you can't take it seriously.
You could argue actually that it implies a critique of the sort of North American tendency to make
Yes,
a
hero,
the dumb hero. It's almost like a sort of Forrest Gump element of the
Yes.
over innocent,
Yeah.
heroic and
Yeah.
ludicrous
Yeah.
circumstances of tragedy.
Yeah, and the president's speech and everything. I think that emphasizes the mock heroic. One could almost see it happening. You know, maybe if I had used a little boy and it had been looked like $1 million, it would have been more objectionable because it would have been more believable in essence. It does. Well, that's nothing wrong with that as far as I'm concerned. You know, they often have to eat some time with it. So it's good that it's, you know, makes them feel something. And the silence that followed it, you know, was, well, you didn't need to point it out, it was perfectly evident. So it did make people think. And even that's, you know, something. I'm achieving these days. Anyone seen the film, what's that comedy? Up the Spartans? No. Meet the Spartans? Anyone seen it? It's the most politically incorrect film ever made. I advise you to see it. The first 5 minutes is the king of Sparta beating the shit out of his 5-year-old son. And in Southampton, where I saw it, it got a huge round of applause and cheers from the audience. They were rough lot down
That's very interesting.
Is it likely that we only get to see satirical films about militant Islam, for instance, in sort of 50 years' time or 60 years'
Who knows, you know? Well,
The
we
interesting question would be where will they emerge? Will it emerge from Western Europe or maybe from the Middle East?
Well, there's one already, but Lucy, my wife, was telling me about what's it called? Looking for Osama bin Laden. Well, they find him now. It looks like. So, I mean, that's a comedy, I presume. But I know he didn't go to the Middle East to shoot it, he shot it in the Hollywood Hills instead of Afghanistan. Might be tougher than that.
And I was intrigued by your comment that one never makes completely what.
No.
But which of your films do you think you most got closest to?
I think we're not and the Devils, except it was censored by Warner Brothers and still is. So, you know, they cut it to ribbon.
What was it
Yeah,
without people seeing it.
yes,
Because there aren't many other art forms where that would happen.
no,
Well, actually, that's not quite true. There have been scandals. I mean, I suppose some photographic exhibition. No, I suppose that's not true, but there is that.
Yeah. yeah. Yes, you haven't seen, yes, a lot of groups did criticise the Devils when it came out of the Sons of Light and people like that, but they never saw it, so, and members of the clergy also who never saw it, but that's not new. Sorry?
I'd like to know your opinion on how do you think the TV nowadays is getting dumbed down, same as like films or anything? Because like you see reality TVs where they're more interested in watching people get covered in rubbish stuff.
Yeah, well, I think that's a general consensus. Certainly the art programs are pretty well finished. I mean, the art program I worked for, Monitor, the BBC, it came on every fortnight. It was the first regular art program, I think, anywhere in the world. But it came on after the, feature film at 9:30, so it still had, it had latent sort of audience, too lazy to get up and turn off the channel. And I even used that to my advantage on Monitor films. I realised that Dad didn't want to see a film on Debussy just having, enjoyed a James Bond movie. Except that if I could capture him and others like him before he had a chance to get up and turn it off, that was in the days before then I stood a chance of hooking him for the rest of the program. So my film on Debussy, I knew that if I just said, now comes a film on Debussy, he would get up and switch it up. But I didn't open it with the title, I opened it with a girl in a t-shirt, nailed to a cross on the beach in Eastbourne, as other girls in t-shirts filled her with arrows and blood. And you think, well, what's that got to do with the big? But stop Jack getting out of his chair. And the thing was that it was revealed later why I did that. And there's Debussy wrote a cantata called The Martyrdom of Saint Sebastian, and it was played by a woman. And Saint Sebastian was killed by his own archers. And I was doing an update of a film on Debussy being actually shot by a French camera crew at Beachy Head, where he wrote quite a lot of Lambert and stayed in the current big hotel that's there. So there was a reason for it, which is explained later as the film went on. But it certainly, was a gripping start. Okay. One here.
Your work uses a strong, a lot of humour in it. I was just wondering, does that come to the way that the industry takes, how seriously the industry takes it?
Well, the industry doesn't take me seriously at all. I made most of my films, my big feature films, in the days when Hollywood ruled the roost in England. There were every company, Paramount, United Artists, Warner Brothers, Columbia, they all had huge offices in London full of 20 or 30 people. Now there's lucky if there's a stringer who's working for all the companies, making a phone call to America once a week. I mean, ever since the British have been in charge of the money, people like me and other directors like me of that period aren't flavour of the month anymore. The big thing, you've got to be Scottish, 17 years old and female. Thinking of having a sex change. Other basic. No, it's but anyway, since the advent of the instant video camera, I mean, all you have to do, you've got to have a good idea of how to direct. But all you've got to do, is to press the red button. never stop.